Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakabadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who as well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Anah. I know this how this video is. You prove you're not of the elect if you say this. And basically, I was just thinking about the fact that individuals, say things like the Hebrew Israelites are a cult, or, I left a cult, or whatever the case may be. I can't remember exactly how I was thinking about it. When I was thinking about it, I had to do some moving around, but basically that's it. They say things like, I left because it's a cult or whatever the case may be. And it just proves that you're not of the elect if you say that. And that you don't know what you're involved in completely. I feel like it's not a smart thing to say. If you knew what you was involved in, if you knew who you was, that being an Israelite that has fallen away from his power or her power, and then you're starting to gain back the wisdom and the understanding of who you are, just like scripture say you would, then you wouldn't ever leave and say you left Hebrew Israelitism or whatever the case may be because it's a cult, or that you even think it's a cult. You will still think yourself to be a Israelite, right? And basically, you probably just was following the wrong camp at that time. And I mean, an example that I wanted to bring out was at one point in the history, people were following King Saul, right? The Lord was with King Saul, and people were following him, but the kingdom was taken away from him. And during that time, then it was given to King David, but at the time, people were still following King Saul, but the Lord was not dealing with him. So the scriptures say things written aforetime was written for our learning, that through patience. Let me grab it real quick. This is Romans 15 and 4. It says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope." So we can see clearly in our history that you had an individual that the Most High set up, but then he basically, unset him basically, and it was given to King David. That's history. And then people started to follow King David as the king, right? But people were still following King Saul, but that was the wrong way. And eventually, they all follow King David. So my point is with that is that if you're in these other camps and you know exactly what you're involved in, some of those thoughts might come to mind. Like maybe I was just following the wrong group of people. A lot of times I see these people that say I was in a cult, this and the third. No one says I was following the wrong group of people. But you do have people that do leave these groups, and then they do start following the men of GMS, right? Great Millstone, the people that have the 100% truth, right? The prophets of the Lord, and they don't need to make a video or anything like that. They just, they know what to do. So anyway, they got me thinking. I just want to go over these things because you're not the leg. You don't belong to the Father. This is Mark 4:1. It says, "The parable of the sower and the soils." It says, "And he began again to teach by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea, and the whole multitude was by the sea on the land." So Yahushua was teaching. It says, "And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine, Hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow. And it came to pass, as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprung up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And others fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased, and brought forth some 30, and some 60, and some an hundredfold. And he said unto them, He that have ears to hear, let him hear. right? So that was a parable of the sower seed, right? And he goes in, he's going to explain it. It says, and when he was alone, they that were about him with the 12 asked of him the parable. And he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of Yahweh, but unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables, right? So for us, the elect, right, we understand the scriptures, right, because we belong to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. But for those of you that fall out and say you was in a cult and all of that, you don't understand nothing, right? You don't understand even who you are, right? There's no way in hell you could. Otherwise, you would never have left, right? It says that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand. At least at any time they should be converted and their sins should be forgiven them. So you can be in this thing the whole time and not understanding nothing about what you're involved in, right? Just lollygagging in this ministry and eventually soon to be destroyed or fall out or whatever the case may be, right? So that's y'all. Those of you that say, "Oh, I was in a cult or I fell out because of this," and whatever retarded ass reason you want to give to why you fell out, it just was never for you to get it, and you didn't understand what you was involved in the whole time, right? Mark 4:13 it says, and he said unto them, know ye not this parable? And how then will ye know all parables? The sower soweth the word, and these are they by the wayside where the word is sown, but when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts, right? So you could be the individual that's walking down the street and you see the brothers teaching, you come over there, you're trying to learn, and then bomb. Satan come through with all type of folly, asking mad questions, trying to disprove or discredit what the sower is saying regarding the word or whatever the case may be. And you just like, yeah, what this person has come and said who's deceiving sounds better than what the prophets were saying, whatever the case may be. It says, and these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended, right? So you hear the word, saying they come around, you got it, but you have no background, no foundation. You just with it. And that's a lot of people, right? The ones that say I'm in a cult or anything like that, right? They didn't study for themselves, right? They just taking the word, like individuals that go to church, they go to church, they just listen to whatever the person is saying, and not in taking it in for themselves, pretty much. And so it says, and have no root in themselves, and so you don't grow. You're not growing in it, right? You're just stagnant, one area. Whatever the pastor so-called teaching you, that's what you're learning. It says, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. So then you like, damn, something happened. Your car might break down. Hey, I'm not even gonna lie. So my mom has a friend, and I don't know too much about what's happening with that situation regarding her friend and her husband, but they're Israelites. They know that the Israelites, the husband found out whatnot, and the lady, the wife of the husband that knows he's an Israelite, like I said, she's friends with my mom. She told my mom one time she got sick, and she was surprised that she got sick because she was an Israelite and she knew who she was. So when she got sick, she was like, "This is not supposed to happen to me," because I'm an Israelite. Which that's a vain thought. That's what she thought. So she was offended. And like I said, I don't know what they got going on now, but I just know that, that's an example. It says, and these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches and the lust of other things entering in choke the word and become unfruitful. Right. So this has to be the apple of your eye, this word. returning back to who you are, chasing after the Father, right? And then, everything else will be added onto you because the Father knows exactly what you need, you know, and you have to be chosen. It says, and these are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word and receive it and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60-fold, and some 100-fold, right? So you get this information, you stay in it, right? You stay in it, right? You teach the word, you do the works, you have the faith, you believe in Yahweh Shai, and you're doing the works, right? Those are the ones that remain. Those are the ones that are the hopeful elect. Now this is John 17:1. I just want to read these things because it's pertaining to the thought that I had of why these individuals say that. And it's almost like I can't understand, and it's a good thing because I don't want to understand how they feel about not no longer wanting to be in the truth. You know what I mean? Or why they not in the truth no more. I don't want to know. I don't want to imagine or picture it because I know it's not good. John 17:1, it says, "These words spake Yahweh Shai, and lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, Father, the hour is come, glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him." So the given him is the elect. It's going to go on to explain that. It says, "And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true power, in Yahweh Shai, whom thou hast sent. I have glorified thee on earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self and with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Now they have known that all things, whatsoever thou hast given me are of thee. For I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from thee, and they have believed that thou didst send me." Right. So this is understanding what you're involved in and believing all of it. Right. Having what the 100% truth. It says, "I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine, and all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them." It says, "And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to thee, Holy Father, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are." Right. So, the scriptures clearly say that you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. Right. So individuals just come here, they hear the word, and basically it's all the gimmicks and all of that stuff. Right. But the scriptures also say the deceived and the deceiver are his. They belong to Yahweh also. The ones that's just here waiting to be destroyed, pretty much. It says, "And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee, Holy Father, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are." It says, "While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me have I kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scriptures might be fulfilled." Right. So none of us are lost. Right. So basically, if you fall out, that's the reason why. It's not because of it's whatever lie you tell yourself. It's because you wasn't chosen, you wasn't picked, you wasn't wanted. Right. Only the elect in this time, the ones that belong to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, are the ones that's going to remain in this thing. This is Romans 8:9 NLT. It says, "But you are not controlled by your sinful nature. You are controlled by the Spirit, if you have the Spirit of Yahweh living in you. And you remember that those who do not have the Spirit of anointed of Yahweh Shai living in them do not belong to him at all." Right. So you don't have the Spirit. Right. There's another reason why you eventually just fell out, like he was always going to do. Right. It says, "And Yahweh Shai lives within you. So even though your body will die because of sin, the Spirit gives you life, because you have been made right with Yahweh." Right. So that's what we're coming to here in these last days. We're awakening back to who we are. Right. Our sins are forgiven. right? And the scriptures also say, the flesh profiteth nothing. Let me grab that. Yeah, this is John 6:63. It says, "It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." Right. So you never received the words, right? That's why what I got in John 17, Yahushua said he gave us the words, right? He gave us the words. So he gave it to the whole elect. So we know exactly what we're involved in, right? Ain't no way in hell we falling out because we know who we are. We are the Israelites, right? We fell away from our power because of sin. And it's prophesied in scriptures that we will return. And pursuant to Ezekiel 37, that's exactly what we're doing, right? And we understand that afflictions and all these things are going to come, and we just carry our cross and continue, just like Yahweh Shah did, right? So it'll be hard, for us to fall out of truth, except the Lord, allows that thing. So verse 10 says, "And Yahushua lives within you, so even though your body will die because of sin, the Spirit gives you life because you have been made right with Yahweh. Since the Spirit of Yahweh who raised Yahushua from the dead lives in you. And just as Yahweh raised Yahushua from the dead, he will give life to your mortal bodies by the same Spirit living within you. It says, therefore, dear brothers and sisters, you have no obligation to do what your sinful nature urges you to do. For if you live by its dictates, you will die. But if through the power of the Spirit you put to death the deeds of your sinful nature, you will live." It says, "For all who are led by the Spirit of Yahweh are children of Yahweh." See? So you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received Yahweh's Spirit when he adopted you as his own children. Now we call him Abba Father. For the Spirit joins with our spirit to affirm that we are Yahweh's children. And since we are his children, we are heirs, in fact, together with Yahushua, we are heirs of Yahweh's glory. But if we are to share his glory, we must also share his suffering. Right. So we understand exactly what we're going to be involved in. We understand afflictions are going to come, and then they go and come back, and whatever. We just endure it to the end. So, quick read, Lord willing, you edify from the lesson. I'll say shalom to those for leg, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.